another qualifier today at Maver, the Maver match this at Partridge Lakes. It's a Maver match, so we haven't done the draw yet. So no, I'm looking forward to it. I think it should be a good match today. Temperatures sort of dropped a bit this week, and we had some heavy rain, so I'm feeling a sort of like a low £100 sort of match. That brings like a lot more areas of the venue into play, where you feel like you've got a potential chance of competing. And it's a nice, sensible fishing where you're going to be fishing 2 or 3 lines and sort of taking it easy. I can't decide whether to start on worms or pellets, to be honest. On the other last video log, we saw that I started on worms, and I've had a really good sort of spell on that for the first sort of part of the match. But with the temperature dropping, I don't know whether to start on pellets. But yeah, that's the biggest quandary of today. But yeah, I'll give you an update when I draw, and yeah, we'll catch up then. Right. Well, it's actually the next day after the Partridge match. I managed to successfully delete the part where I talked about my match. So here we go again. I drew peg. What was it now? 163 on Lake 6. Not normally a good area, but you had the wind blowing in. There was one off the end peg by the bridge, and I half fancied it to catch a few fish, to be honest. Had a very funny match. I couldn't really get things going properly for the first half of the match, and yeah, I'll run you through basically how it went. I started down the edge on worms, had a couple of fish straight away. The first one I lost, lost under my feet. It went through the weeds just randomly. But I didn't feel worm was right, although I was getting a few bites, so instantly stopped. I'd already started loose feeding maggots directly down the sort of middle of the lake at sort of 6 joints. But after the worms, I tried pellets to my right down the edge, and that didn't move at all. So I sacked that off. So yeah, we're sort of 20 minutes in, and I've already sacked 2 lines off. So I've gone across on pellets, and I've had 2 sort of fairly quick fish in sort of 3 foot. And I thought it might be good for a slow but steady sort of tick over, but it never happened. Those were the only 2 fish that I had, and I wasted a bit of time trying to make it work. So then when I've dropped in down the middle, it was noticeable that there was fish feeding, because I was getting the odd bubble come up, but it took a long time to get a bite, any sort of indications. There was nothing off the bottom, and it took a long time to actually physically get an indication. So I'm sort of like an hour in by this stage, and maybe even later than that, and I've not really made anything work at all. So I've made a decision that around about that sort of time that basically it was going to take a while to get the fish to feeding confidently enough to put a run of fish together. So I completely changed the match, replumbed up again on a top kit +1 in 4 foot, and stopped feeding down the middle and went about another 1.5 sections across with maggots at the base of the far shelf, and sort of fished on the bottom in that, just kindering with the occasional bit of catapulting just to make some noise. And yeah, I've sort of like stopped doing anything to the platform to my left, with the view on sort of feeding heavily with maggots there later on in the match to catch some big F1s and some carp to the platform. And so it was probably 2 hours in, I've ended up actually starting to tick over. I've had a few fish down the middle, and that's been okay. But then sort of like with 2 hours to go, I've started catching on my short line. And once that got to the stage where it was regular, I started feeding the platform long to my left, and sort of cut out feeding down the middle because I wanted everything to come to me. So yeah, I've ended up having a really good last 2 hours. I probably had 6-7 fish halfway through, and then I've ended up with 38 fish, which is weighed 93 pound. And it's won the section and been second on the lake, I believe. So yeah, it's one of them. I think I made all the right decisions to catch well at the end, but I definitely made all the wrong decisions to do well at the start. And I think it's always important to analyse your match and be honest. And yeah, if I'd found something that tipped over well for that first half of the match, then realistically there was half a chance of getting near the frame or even the victory. We're talking £30 off, I think £126 won it off 85 and 15 fish. It's 3 hours, it's 5 fish an hour. That's a slow tick over. So yeah, if I was to fish the match again, I would possibly, I feel as though, and it's a dead negative way to fish, and it's always good with hindsight, but I feel as though just fishing maggots, sort of 3-4 foot to the far side, would have tipped me over a few bites, and that might have been enough to get somewhere near the frame. Anyway, yeah, I was second on the lake, had a brilliant last half of the match, and a really enjoyable day.